Hi, I'm Siobhan and this is Beam TV, my weekly show about child sexual abuse and recovery. Today's topic was requested by a viewer. I'm going to give an overview of how sexual abuse can impact on the child years into their adult life. I want to preface this by saying I am not trying to lump all of us together, but just to give an overview of how sexual abuse may affect the person who has suffered. Survivors may feel isolated and lonely as a result of feeling ashamed of their experiences. Over time, this may lead the survivor to avoiding social situations or isolating themselves out of a fear of being known, of being seen clearly. The mentality is, if you knew who I really was or what really happened, then you wouldn't like me. We are experts at molding ourselves to suit the needs of other people. Many of us, including me, felt that we were leading double lives as children because we were always carrying this big, monumental secret that we couldn't tell anyone. We are used to appeasing others, to adapting our behaviour to keep others happy, and can therefore feel guilty if we put ourselves first. This means that children who have been sexually abused may find themselves attracting situations and dynamics and relationships that lead to a re-victimization as adults. On the other hand, some of us go the other direction entirely because we're so afraid of ever feeling exposed in that way again that we shut down on relationships. We can also find it hard to trust other people when we've been so terribly let down by a trusted figure in the past, where most sexual abuse is committed by someone who the child knows. We also struggle to trust ourselves, our own perceptions of events and situations, so that we always need someone else to validate that our point of view makes sense. We often need to feel in control of our environment. We may require a higher level of consistency and predictability in order to feel safe, and we can be very sensitive to even the slightest sign of emotional withdrawal from others. Where the abuser was a relative or a parent, like in my case, or where our family did not react well to us trying to tell them about the abuse, we may also have a deep-rooted fear of abandonment. We might deny our own vulnerability and needs as a way of trying to compensate for the time in our life when we were completely at someone else's mercy. We may judge ourselves as being weak for needing support from others, and this can lead to a side of us that is on the one hand fiercely independent, but on the other hand desperately needy. And this can result in major ups and downs in relationships, for example, as we try to assert ourselves and feel like we're being taken seriously whilst feeling tremendously vulnerable on the inside. We may be attracted to a level of trauma and danger because that's what feels familiar to us, even if it makes us unhappy. I call this being fascinated by chaos, and I think it helps to explain why some people stay in abusive relationships. We may be reckless and impulsive, desperate to prove that we are able to take control of a situation that is ultimately beyond us. We sometimes recreate a level of struggle that has common themes with our childhood in a sort of subconscious effort to win and thereby feel less helpless. We may develop an alien identity made up of all the things the abuser told us about ourselves. We may have internalized their view of us as dirty or shameful, and then we may take that false view out into the world and sort of subconsciously look for evidence that reinforces it, whilst at the same time rejecting any evidence that contradicts it. So for example, we may find it very hard to accept compliments whilst enduring relationships that are damaging to us because deep down, that's what we feel we deserve. We may excessively scan the environment for danger, seeing everything as a potential threat, leading to an inability to switch off or relax because we are constantly on guard. On a purely diagnostic level, survivors of child sexual abuse are more prone to depression, anxiety, and symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. When I think about it, I can't pinpoint any mental diagnosis that cannot be caused by child sexual abuse. So suffice to say, taking this video as a whole, the challenges faced by survivors are vast and the resultant costs to society are clear and evidenced. This isn't in my script at all, but I just want to point out at this stage that there is another side to this. And I may only be speaking for myself here, but I think that if, as a survivor, you are able to process those events in a healthy way and, I suppose, recover, although that's a very subjective term that it's difficult to say exactly what that means, there are certain advantages. And I would say that this applies to any trauma, not just child sexual abuse, in that I feel that I have developed a really good relationship with myself now, and I think I have a high level of self-awareness, which helps me in all aspects of my life in the here and now. And I don't think that would have been possible if I wasn't able to get past these traumatic events in the way that I think I have. Having said that, in the same breath, I mean, ultimately I would trade all that in for the abuse to have never happened, but I'm just trying to say that if you can process and move on, recover from the abuse, which I know is an ongoing journey that never quite finishes, you may find that it develops your character. So yeah, that was completely ad lib. And I just want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. And if you think it's an important topic, which it really is, then please subscribe and share. I also welcome your comments in the section below, and feel free to email me anytime if you're a survivor, if you're affected by this video, and I'll reply as soon as I can. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.